Welcome to The Key with Kim Mills. Today, we are going to be talking about the one thing that could make your house show and live better. Meaning, if you're about to sell your house, this is one thing to really dial in. But also, if you're just trying to find a better way to enjoy the house that you live in, this one's for you. Really, it doesn't have to be expensive. It can really change every mood in the room. And it comes down to one word, you guys. It's lighting. Why lighting matters. Let's just start with think about when you go into, say, like your favorite restaurant. What is one thing that you notice in that restaurant? It could be the aesthetics, like the colors. It could be textures of the furniture. But I guarantee one thing that they do right is the lighting. For me, I am not into overhead lights. I know every room has one, but for the most part, I think those are the hardest ones to control the mood, right? Because it's just typically they're not on a dimmer. But if you can think about layering your lighting, I think you're going to enjoy every space a little bit better. So what do I mean by that? First, I would start off by saying for any light switch that you have, think about installing a dimmer. This can be done by you. It could also be done by an electrician. But if you start thinking about the light switches, if you can add a dimmer, it just allows you to change the ambiance a little bit. So when I walk into my kitchen, I have 3 light switches that I can turn on. The last one I like to turn on is all of our LED can lights because it's so bright. But when I walk down in the morning, I love to hit the light where my kitchen island is and it's dim. And then I turn on our kitchen table light, which is also on a dimmer. And it just lets me sort of like ease into the morning as I make my coffee. And then as people start waking up, I'll turn on that third light. But it's layers like that. So first of all, first takeaway, install dimmers where you can. All right, another inexpensive improvement. Let's talk about your bulb choices. One thing, especially if you guys are going to sell a house, they all need to match, but I personally recommend doing more of that warmer light, not the really bright cold light. So you have all these options on a spectrum. I would say go more to that warm versus the blue, that cold blue. Again, when you enter into a room, you want to feel something. So if you can start to use some of that warmer light, I think it just gives off a better feeling. Some stores where I think you can actually make a pretty good bang for your buck. Of course, there's Amazon. There are so many places where you can get dupes, right? So the spectrum of what you could spend on lighting is vast. But I think if you can start thinking through, first of all, what do you want to pay for, let's say, a lamp or, an overhead light fixture? Maybe it's a pendant light or maybe it's a chandelier. Give yourself a budget and then start calling lighting stores. I know there are several just in the Columbus area that are really great about matching your budget to the style. So that it could be even within the lighting brands, there could be a little bit more of like a dupe line that allows you to have the look without that price tag. So use those resources. One of my favorite places is Visual Comfort in Grandview. They have an amazing showroom. But what I like about Visual Comfort is when you talk to anybody that works there, they know their stuff. What they do is if you fall in love with something that, say, is on the floor, they're going to be able to show you probably 3 or 4 different options in different price ranges. So just know there's more than what you're going to see, but you don't necessarily have to pour through all those catalogs. Get somebody to help you, and those guys really know their stuff. Okay, for layering your lighting, a couple other things I want you to think about. There's the overhead lights. So we've talked about how you can use the dimmers on those. You can also have lamps. So you could have desk lamps, you could have table lamps, or you could do the floor lamps. All of those are great. And a few of them in each room, I think, are really special. If you can think about where people are going to sit and what height they're going to sit at, that's going to help you dictate where the light should be because you don't want that light coming right in at your eyes. Personally, in our family room, we have 3 lamps that I always want to turn on. Some of my kids don't want to turn on all those lamps, but there's something that creates just a little bit more of a warm, inviting vibe. And I have one large lamp that sits on a table, one smaller lamp that sits on a table, and then one floor lamp in the corner. And it just kind of gives it a cozier feeling. All right, my favorite light, which this is something that is not necessarily something you can purchase, but natural light in your home is really, really important. So if you can, open up the blinds, open up your curtains, get that natural light coming in and out of your rooms. The natural light feels so good. I think when I'm walking through homes like I do on a daily basis, one of the first things I notice is if the natural light is really good. I think just because we're all drawn to that, it kind of gives you that feeling of the outdoor coming inside. So you might be really fortunate that you've got some great natural light in your existing home. If you don't, think through ways that you can enhance that. So you don't necessarily have to give away your privacy, but find ways that you can integrate that natural light into those rooms. Let me give you an example. We have a shared driveway at my house. We also have a half bath that sits right on that shared driveway, but there's a really tall window in there, and it really actually makes the light great in that bathroom. So we did a half window treatment. So you basically can only see the top part, but that light still comes in. So you didn't have to close off all of the light. You can just do half of it, and it still affords you the privacy that you need in a bathroom. So get a little bit creative. Try to let the windows do what they're supposed to do and let that sunlight come in. One other thing about natural light, if you have super heavy drapery that's kind of like sneaking in further on the window, pull that back and see what it feels like. You can even remove it and see what it feels like. I took drapes down in the front of my house and I still haven't even put them back up yet because I actually love the windows. I do need to put treatments on either side, but I'm going for very minimal when I do put those treatments up. So just play around with it. But if you have heavy, heavy drapes, maybe take them down for a second and see what it feels like, and maybe they won't go back up right away. All right, for people who are thinking about selling their home, listen up. Here are some tips that are really easy and they make a big difference. Before showings, turn on every single light, overhead lamps, set the dimmers so it feels like it has that good vibe. Turn them all on. Even if it's bright outside, turn them all on. You want somebody to feel like, oh my gosh, they're having me come in, right? It feels really inviting. I also want you to make sure that all the bulbs match. It can feel really disjointed if one room has more of that cold feeling bulb and then you walk into another room and it has the warm feeling bulb. Make them all sync together. And again, I emphasize going to the warm versus the cold. And when you can, highlight some of your architectural features with lighting. There are so many battery operated things that you can buy now. So it could be a battery operated sconce that you can put that really highlights maybe some architectural features that you have in a room. Or if you have some built-ins, you can use battery operated lamps, like little lamps that allow some light into highlighting what that feature is. Light is a good thing. You just need it to be the appropriate scale and the right bulb. But think about where can I add some impact, and it doesn't have to cost a lot. All right, last thing for sellers that I want you to do, I want you to open up all the blinds. I want you to open up all the curtains. I know you probably don't live like that, but I want people to really experience and feel like what the windows do for this home, because it's one of those, it's an intangible. You don't know why it feels so good, but open all of those things up so people can really feel the natural light that you've got in your house. All right, two other places I would think about adding some light in your existing homes. Artwork. You can actually have, again, if it's not hardwired, that's okay, but you can do the light fixtures that go above an art piece that are beautiful, and I think it actually just adds a little bit of emphasis where you want it. If it's highlighting a piece of art that you have hanging in your home, why not show it off a little bit? So think about that. I would also think about under cabinet lighting. I know sometimes that can be much trickier to do after the cabinets are installed. It's not impossible, but under counter lighting, I think, is so great. Especially think about you're winding down in the evening, your kitchen, you've cleaned everything up from dinner, and you just want to have a little bit of ambiance. Under cabinet lighting is one of the best ways to do that. You can even stick a cute lamp on your counter, which I love that too. I feel like that's a really Southern thing, but I love a little lamp on the table. Again, it creates a little vignette and a little focus on an area that you know people are constantly in if it's your kitchen. Okay, so remember, lighting is one of the best ways that you can create some impact in your home. It does not have to cost a lot. If you are integrating new hardwiring in, please consult with an electrician so you know you're doing it right. But really, I want you to think about little places where maybe you could integrate some lighting. And if you do this, I hope you share it with me. Maybe it's in a powder room, maybe it's in your kitchen, maybe it's in a bedroom, maybe it's in a hallway that just is dark and doesn't really offer much. I bet you can change some things and enjoy the house that you're living in just a little bit more. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Remember, new episodes drop every Tuesday. Please subscribe and share this with a friend so you don't miss our next conversation. I'm so excited to be on this journey with you. And until next time, remember, the key is in the details, and the journey is just as important as our destination.